Candidate Obama's willingness to openly discuss his religious beliefs translated to a double-digit increase among white evangelicals in key swing states, and Senator Barack Obama was elected the 44th President of the United States.
God bless you, and may God bless the United States of America.
I do think that there's a sense among voters that they look at politicians and they don't trust politicians, Republicans or Democrats. But if they see somebody who says, these are my beliefs and that I have some foundation for what I believe and what I say, that they take as something that makes them perhaps more trustworthy.
No reading of American history, I defy anyone, no reading of American history could push religion out of the formation of the values of life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness. But they were very careful not to say, Jesus, created America. What would Jesus do is not an amendment.
I have to remember as a Christian that what Uncle Sam says and what God says are often two different things. And I probably will never be able to get the two to align perfectly.
With my head throbbing with all this church and state stuff, we rolled into the Twin Cities and caught up with Saturday Night Live alum and senatorial candidate Al Franken to get his take.
There may be Christians who think that this is a Christian country when our Constitution is very, very, very clear.
I mean, religious liberty and Christian country are two different things.
They're the actual opposite.
The federal judge has said the Pledge of Allegiance is unconstitutional for our children to say because it says one nation under God.
So I think, for example, that under God probably shouldn't be in the Pledge of Allegiance. It wasn't put in there until like the 50s. But it's not that big a deal to me. In God We Trust probably shouldn't be on the coin. I don't care.
Do you believe that school children should be able to pray in school?
I'd be perfectly happy to have a school prayer in the country if it were the Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Hear, O Israel, Lord our God, Lord is one. Fine. You want prayer in school? That'll be it.
Why are we counting on the government to have prayer in school? We need to be praying with our children before they, in fact, go to school.
Wait a second, did Reagan and Franken just agree with each other? It's easy to see how these issues raise questions for many Americans, one of them being Tom Krettenmaker, who happens to write on religion and public life for USA Today, where he's on the board of contributors.
George Bush said Christ changed his heart. Was that enough for millions of people to vote for him?
Well, that can be an inspiring statement and a nice idea. Should that be the basis for someone voting for a candidate? No, I certainly don't think so.
Two-term Pennsylvania Senator Rick Santorum, voted out with many other Republicans in the 2006 midterms, feels that faith and politics cannot be separated.
How do you determine what's right and wrong, without looking at some sort of moral code, whether it's from the philosophers or whether it's from bubblegum wrappers? I mean, you get it from somewhere. And most people in America, not all, but most, get it from faith.
I remember when I was canvassing as a volunteer in the 2004 election, I was canvassing for Kerry, yes, to be open about that. I went to one woman's house. She opened the door. She said she's voting for Bush because he's a good Christian man, and she slammed the door on me. Case closed.
The crazy part about democracy, I mean, that's why Churchill said one time, democracy is the worst form of government in the world except for all the other forms. And part of our problem is that it's noisy, it's untidy, it generates feelings, it generates emotions.
Obviously, a lot of the moral questions of the day, we claim ownership of those answers. And I think we need to, I'm not suggesting that we abandon that we don't, we don't stand up for truth. But I think we have to do so unless a condemnatory fashion.
Look, if they mean that we want to have a finer society where compassion prevails, we treat one another better, there's a sense of kindness and charity and justice, well, who could argue with that?
If Jesus came back and was walking right down the street, do you think he would be a Republican or a Democrat or...
It wouldn't matter to him.
I don't think he'd care. I really don't.
Democrat for sure.
Really? Now why?
Because he saved me.
He wouldn't care.
I think he'd be peaceful too. I think he'd just groove. That's all he'd do. Just look around like, dang it, man.
Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me so. Little ones to him belong. They are weak, but he is strong.
We can argue about whether this country is a Christian nation or not, but every Sunday morning, 4 out of 10 Americans find their way to a church service. Want to know something funny? A recent Harris poll reports 9 out of 10 Americans believe in the existence of God. That 9 out of 10 of us are in agreement that we all come from a creator is amazing to me, especially considering we can only get 4 out of 5 dentists to agree on that whole sugarless gum controversy. Now, of course, when 9 out of 10 people say they believe in God, they're not all referring to the one that parted the Red Sea. Some people think God is a tree, or that God is that happy feeling you get on your birthday. Others think Clapton is God. And some think God lives somewhere out in the Horsehead Nebula and is still waiting for the Voyager space probe to arrive with his Chuck Berry.
How do you think the universe began?
By creation. I have no idea.
Evolution, I believe in that theory.
It's just the idea of that happening. There has to be some sort of intelligent force behind it.
I don't know, but I think it had to do with God. Some say the Big Bang, but I want to know what happened before the Big Bang.
He called day, day, and he called night, night. And that's how it started. God created.
I read that somewhere, I think.
In the Bible.
I like it. That's where
it's all good.
I think that the scientific reason happened because of the biblical reason.
How did the universe begin?
I wish I knew.
Evolution. We all came from like little creatures that crawled out the sea, and
But before that,
just a speck, an atom, a molecule from another planet. You know, there's a whole intergalactic solar system out there. You think we're the only people on planets?
No, but before that.
Before that, planets before that. There was a Big Bang. I mean, we're going back and back and back. I can go back as far as you can go back.
Let's break down the 2000 U.S. Census numbers. 75% of the country identify themselves as Christian. The split is about 50% Protestant, 25% Catholic. 125 million citizens identified themselves as born again, or evangelicals, though other sources say the evangelical total is probably closer to 80 million, and the National Association of Evangelicals have about 30 million members. But any way you slice it, that's a lot of followers.
I used to go to Christian Coalition events quite often to kind of find out what the other people were talking about. And I like the people at Christian Coalition events. I'd say that the people at a Christian Coalition event are nicer than the people at the Democratic Convention, by and large. But there's like this 10% that are just kind of not nice and kind of hostile and kind of angry about this whole thing. As a Jew, I don't believe that Jesus was the Son of God. I just don't believe that, and I don't. So I remember a guy going to me, "So you're calling Jesus a liar?" And I said, I don't think so. And he says, "Well, Jesus said, when you look upon me, you look upon the Father. So you're calling Jesus a liar because you're saying he isn't God." And I said, "Okay, maybe it was a misquote. That could happen. That happens. Maybe Jesus said it and he thought he was God and he's just a little woo, which the others knew was a joke." And then I said, or maybe what Jesus